This is our group project called Left and Right for COMM 320 with Burt, Christin, and Robert Ryan. In our experiment today, we are going to be looking at left and right eye movers, also known as conjugated lateral eye movements, or COMMs for short. This is where if you ask somebody a question, it's going to be their involuntary lateral eye movements from left to right. COMMs are thought to be closely associated with cognitive processing, which means that it's associated with the way that we think about things, the way that we remember things. And when we study their eye movements, then we're able to see how a person studies and goes through that cognitive processing. We'll look away to the left or to the right while we're reflecting on a thought, then look forward again when stopping processing information. Left movers focus attention on internal subjective experiences. Right movers show a great tendency towards external focused attention. When you ask somebody a question, they're either going to look left or they're going to look right. When right-handed people look up and to the right, that means they're trying to envision something that they've never seen. When right-handed people look up and to the left, they may be trying to be recalling an event or a memory. Since eye contact is needed for nonverbal communication, if the speaker is unaware of being a right or left looker, they might never fully communicate visually with a good portion of the audience. A good example is a teacher who look primary left are visually neglecting a significant portion of their classrooms. Managers who look primarily right during meetings are visually excluding a significant portion of their employees from interaction. Therefore, once a person is aware of his or her tendencies to look left or right, then adaptation must take place to visually include a person whom the speaker is addressing. COMMs are usually quite prominent when someone is working on a task that requires a thought or reflection. There is some speculation that when we call attention to someone's COMMs and ask that person to control them, this will make it difficult for the person to concentrate and may distract them from cognitive processing. In an article by Meskin and Singer called Daydreaming, Reflective Thought, and Laterality of Eye Movements, published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, they suggested that the increased lateral eye movements occurred in the presence of an interviewer. That left shifters had an increased tendency for inner fantasy, while right shifters had an increased external orientation and more verbal and analytic thought. If a reflective question required more long-term memory search, the eyes tended to rest on a minimally stimulating area or shut altogether to concentrate more on memory recall. Based on their survey, right movers outnumbered left movers 2-1. Right movers did tend to move to the left more when the interviewer was not in the room. Left movers made the same right movements regardless of the presence or lack of an interviewee. These subtle eye movements may reflect permanent personality traits. These personality traits could be similar to left and right brain. Here is an image of how they have broken up how the left and the right brain process. So if you're ever wondering how this would affect you, here is an example of if you're a left or a right eye mover, these could be some of the personality traits that you could exhibit. In our experiment, we're going to be looking at left and right movers. Our hypothesis is conjugate lateral eye movements have been observed in people to represent a shift from external attention to internal reflection with characteristics linked to specific thought patterns. Our prediction, determining some type of specific thought pattern from the individual who participated in the experiment. Our experiment, we're going to ask 10 people the following questions. Question 1, How much is 18 times 6? Question 2, how many letters are there in the word generation? Question 3, what does it mean to say beauty is in the eye of the beholder? These 3 questions are perfect for this experiment because 2 are technical and 1 is objectional. Here are our results. As you can see, we have organized it by sex, occupation, and then the results from the questions. Those results are in order from 1, 2, and 3, along with notes afterwards. The results of the experiment seem to support our hypothesis and predictions. 2 individuals were all right shifters, while 2 other individuals were all left shifters. The remainder of the individuals sampled were 60% right or left shifters. Some body language was witnessed that reinforced the witness claim. Our results mirrored other experiments. In the next slide, you will see an experiment that is similar to ours in the sense that it was asking questions and looking at the lateral high shift movements so that you can get an idea of how this was conducted.
Okay, our next special guest is Karina. How are you today, Karina?
I'm fine, thank you.
Excellent. Are you having a good day so far?
It's alright.
Brilliant. I'm going to ask you some questions, if that's okay. All I want you to do is have a think and answer them as best as you can. Is that cool?
Wonderful.
Right.
I'm feeling dizzy. It's really cool.
That's okay. That's okay. Right. Let's crack on with this. Right, Karina. What I want you to do is think back to when you were a very young girl. Think back to the house where you grew up in, and think about the colour of your bedroom you grew up in. What colour was that?
At the time, it was dark blue.
Dark blue. Okay. Brilliant. And if you think back to that room, right? What would it look like in your mind if it was red with yellow spots?
Pretty ridiculous.
Pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
I bet it would. Right, okay, someone's voice now, right? Let's just say your mother's voice, okay? What would you say your mother's voice sounds like? Really think about this.
Sounds a bit like mine.
Okay, right, okay. So can you kind of, when you think of an answer to that question, what are you doing? Are you like, can you hear her voice in your head? Okay, brilliant. Interesting stuff. Right, what would your mother's voice sound like if she sounded like Donald Duck?
Should sound like Donald Duck.
Excellent. That's a really good answer.
Should sound funny.
Right, you live in Fenham, yeah? Right, okay. What does it feel like if you were to go down to the park in Fenham, your nearest park, and you're walking through the grass there with bare feet? How would that feel?
I'd probably stand in dog poo or glass or drugs. Dangerous.
Apart from the dog poo in the glass, think about the feeling on your feet. How would it feel?
Painful.
Okay. And finally, what I want you to do now, right? This is the last question, and it's not so much, I don't need an answer, but what I want you to do is in your head, if you could just start saying to yourself in your head the 10 times table in your head, start doing it.
I don't know.
Do you know any of the times tables?
No.
Shall we do the 5 times table? Right,
I
okay.
know 5 times.
Right, so in your head, right now, just start reciting the 5 times table in your head. Go. And that'll do it. Karina, thank you very much. Thanks for being part of the Metro and Magic and TFM and CFM Creative Day. Say hello and bye.
So important things to think about is that the study of COMM and peer-reviewed articles has shown a distinct trend towards right and left shifters. Our study results in similar success rates and trends. The COMM results of the individual tested in our study relates to a thought process discussed in the articles. Our test subjects worked in occupations that tend towards best fit, that they displayed through CLEM. Example, CPS officers being all right shifted and an analytical thinker. Some body language reinforced in the CLEM results as well. Overall, the test supported our hypothesis and prediction. Our test results matched up with results from the peer-reviewed articles that we reviewed, who also conducted a similar experiment. Improvements to the test could be made in the future by increasing the number of questions and having a larger sample size. This would reduce the amount of error as well as increase the accuracy. Thank you for joining us. We hope that you enjoyed our presentation and enjoyed learning about lateral eye movements.